Recently, I created a simple text cutout used in one of my latest shorts video. But as you might notice, the text is not very readable. So in this quick video, we'll take a look how we can improve the readability of the text, especially when the background is dark. First, let's start by creating the actual text cutout effect. For this, I'm going to use a rectangle and cover the whole canvas. As black was the last used color previously, Affinity already filled the rectangle with black, so in my case, no need to set the color to black. Now let's add the text, resize, and reposition it to our liking. What we now want is to cut out the text from the rectangle, so we can see the layer below in the text. We can't use the text as a clipping mask, as this does exactly the opposite what we are looking for. I can try to invert the clipping mask, but an easier solution would be to subtract the text from the rectangle. To do that, first let's make sure the text is above the black rectangle and then select both of them. Using the Vector Geometry menu, we can use the Subtract option. But before selecting the menu item, press and hold the Alt or Option key so that we get the Compound option. With the Compound option, Affinity will not create a new object, but will subtract the text non-destructively from the rectangle. When we check the Layers panel, we can see that we now have a compound layer with the text being subtracted from the rectangle. The main advantage of using compounds is that we can still modify our text. So now that we have our masked out black box, I want the background to be slightly visible, which we can do by lowering the opacity. Even though this works quite well, I feel like the text is not very readable. So to fix that, I'm going to drag the text while holding the Alt or Option key pressed and move it to the top of the layer stack. This will create a duplicate of our text. With the newly text selected, we can now change the blend mode to Color Dodge or Vivid Light. Quick note, make sure that the text is filled with white if this is not the case. From the Quick Effects panel, let's now reduce the fill opacity to around 50%. Awesome, the text is much more readable, however, the effect might be too strong. So let's open up the blend options and from the underlaying layer, adjust the curve so that the white text in Vivid Light blend mode mainly affects the shadows. Or in other words, we're making the darker areas in the text stronger for better visibility without affecting the lighter areas. Notice the subtle difference when I turn on and off this layer. When I make the image smaller, the text is definitely more readable. If you feel like that the effect is still too strong for your liking, you can go to the blend options and further adjust the curve or change the fill color of the text towards a light gray color. Another option would be to change the blend mode to overlay and then readjust the blend curve. As the overlay has a much softer result, we can also set the fill opacity back to 100%. I hope you liked this video and found it useful. Thanks again for tuning in and hit the like and subscribe buttons before you leave, and see you in the next video.
Here we go. Quincy, dinner time. Here we go. What do you think? What do you think?